The number one mistake sellers make when they try to sell a home by themselves is they think they know what their house is worth better than anyone else and that there's nothing wrong with it. The result is they end up getting a lot less, and they end up getting sued after closing for not disclosing something that they need to disclose. Pricing is an art. It is not a number that you just pick out of a hat. It is a number that is arrived at after a lot of careful analysis and recommendations. When you use a professional real estate agent, you get the benefit of all of this in advance. A real estate agent knows how to make your home appeal to the widest class of potential buyers quicker. And it's not just about picking a number. It's about having a team of professionals to assist. So the first professional is the home stager, which is the person that can look at a home and look at the possibilities. Because for probably a very small amount of renovation, decluttering, and then changing up some of the furniture, it has been demonstrated that a seller can add between 5 to 10% on top of the value of the home. That alone is worth the price and the benefit of a real estate salesperson. And so when a seller gets this advice, they're able to make sure before they even put their home on the market, they're able to find out exactly the best price that they can obtain. Many sellers always like to test the market, and that means offering their home for sale at a price that is 5 to 10% more than the professional real estate agent is telling them to price it at. The result is they end up helping to sell every one of their competitor houses in the neighborhood. And invariably, they have to start reducing their price. And as they start to reduce their price, the buyers start to think, what's wrong with this house that the price keeps getting reduced? And what happens as a result? The seller never gets the price that they were hoping to get, and they can forget about any kind of bidding war on their home. With a professional real estate agent, you get your home priced at exactly the right price for the market at that time. And it has to be analyzed almost on a weekly basis. You can switch from a seller's market to a buyer's market to a balanced market almost immediately, depending on what the Bank of Canada governor might say one afternoon at 2 o'clock. And so your pricing has to be dead on as soon as it goes out to the market, because the fact is the best buyers are going to see that house in the first 2 weeks that is put out there. So when the pricing is wrong going out, it will hurt a seller's chances of success. And so with a real estate agent who is professional in every way, you're going to make sure that when you price that house and offer it for sale that first day, you're going to appeal to the widest class of potential buyers. Many sellers think that as long as their home is listed on the MLS system, it's going to sell itself. Well, we've learned, especially since we started this posting of information, that nothing is further from the truth. A listing salesperson does a lot more than put a sign in the ground and field offers. There has to be an extensive advertising, marketing campaign using the latest technology, social media, and their own contacts within their office in order to make sure that your home is seen by the widest possible list of potential buyers. And this is what you get with a RE/MAX agent. You get an agent with all of the latest technology, tools, and abilities, as well as all those other thousands of RE/MAX agents to make sure that this home is seen by the widest possible class of buyers before any offer is come in. or before any offer is brought in. Let's talk about bidding wars. Everyone knows that when you have a bidding war, the seller is going to get more money for the home. And yet, private sellers are not able to create bidding wars. Why is that? The main reason is that buyers do not trust private sellers for a number of reasons. A private seller can take your offer and just show it to another buyer. So no buyer is going to compete under those circumstances. They also are suspicious that a private seller is not telling them the entire truth about a property. And as a result, this will affect the way they bid or whether they even bring an offer at all. And this is why you find that sellers who sell by themselves, their homes sit on the market longer. With a professional salesperson, you're going to make sure that your home is marketed in such a way with the right technology, the right campaign, and the right strategies, including when the seller will accept any offers, to create the environment, the atmosphere for multiple offers and bidding wars. And as a result, the seller is just going to be able to sit back while their agent is negotiating on their behalf. Many sellers think they can negotiate, that they know what their home is worth and they can get the best price. The fact is, when they're negotiating by themselves, they will give up important information about their own situation. And the buyer agent, who's on the other side, is taking down all of this information and is going to give it to their own buyer clients. And so, while the private seller thinks they may be saving a little bit of commission, they're going to end up selling their home for a lot less because they don't have the benefit of an independent agent negotiating on their behalf. And so anything they say is going to hurt their overall position. When you negotiate for yourself, we like to say in my profession, you have a fool for a client. Private home sellers don't appreciate that they have a duty to disclose hidden defects in the property. And if they don't disclose these defects, they can be sued by the buyer after closing. With a professional real estate agent, a seller will be told in advance about these duties and what their obligations are. And if there are any problems in the home, they will be properly investigated before the home is put up for sale, so that the entire story can be told to the buyer in advance, and then the buyer can check it with their own professional home inspector. It has been found when you make honest disclosure in advance, buyers trust you. When they trust you, you're going to get a higher price for your property. And so with the benefit of that advice from your own listing real estate agent, you're going to make sure as a seller that you never get sued after closing because you didn't disclose what you were supposed to. When preparing a home for sale, there's also the subject of tenancies on the property. As you know, when a tenant is living in the home, it becomes next to impossible to stage the home for sale. It affects showings, and it will affect negotiations because the tenant has no restriction. They can say whatever they like during a showing, and this can hurt the seller's negotiating position. With a professional real estate agent, you can find out what your rights are regarding these tenants and how you can effectively end the tenancy before you even think of putting the home up for sale. This becomes very important in order to make sure that you get the best price for your home before you list it. There are a lot of websites now that talk about pricing in the neighborhood. A lot of websites where you can find out what homes sold for in your neighborhood. This gives buyers and sellers the mistaken idea that they can figure out what their home is worth. Nothing could be farther from the truth. A home's ultimate sale price doesn't tell you anything about what that home was like. the finishings in the home, the view from the kitchen window, all the other amenities in the home. It's not just about a sale price. Similarly, a price a month ago may have no application today because of changes in the market, an announcement by the Bank of Canada governor, and the direction of interest rates. And so that's why you got to have all of this information when you price your home. And with a professional salesperson, they can look at every sale that has happened in your neighborhood, but they can also give you the added perspective of understanding your market today, not a month ago, not even 2 weeks ago, but the minute you put your home up for sale. In summary, a seller who uses a professional real estate agent will make sure that their home sells at the best price, quicker than anyone else, and they don't have to worry about getting sued by anybody after closing. When it comes to pricing, many sellers think that by not using a professional agent, they can right away save commission. What they fail to understand is when a buyer sees that the seller is not using a real estate agent, they will immediately deduct 2.5% off their offering price. So in fact, the seller will not save any money, but instead they will suffer because they will have no one to represent them. Many sellers insist on being in the home at the time of the showing. Bad idea. Number one, even serious buyers are very uncomfortable touring a home when the seller is there hovering around making comments. So right away, the seller may scare off some very serious potential buyers. Secondly, sellers like to volunteer information during the showings, something a listing salesperson would never do, even if they were on site. And by making these comments, the seller is just going to hurt his own negotiating position. The buyer and the buyer agent are also going to ask a lot of questions of that seller, and they may very well unknowingly say things that will get them in all kinds of trouble, especially if defects are discovered after closing that were not disclosed in advance by the seller. And so by just appearing at the showing, the seller will hurt their negotiating position and probably give away way too much information about themselves and the property that is only going to hurt them, both during negotiations and after closing.